Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're at another episode of Behind Enemy Lines, our hockey podcast, episode 19. Today, we're going to play GM. We're going to see what we can come up with that maybe will help out Montreal's little mini slump we got going on here. As always, I'm joined by my fellow assistant general manager, Steve. Take her away.
Well, it's good to be back because we enjoy doing this, but we start another episode on our building first losing streak of the season. So we're 3 games into this, into a losing streak with hopefully an end in sight. But let's just go ahead, dive into where we were, where we are, and let's play fantasy GM.
Okay, this should be exciting. I think everybody who sits around the water cooler at work or sits on the tailgate at truck always, this is a big topic, not just for us, but for all teams. Um, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into another trivia question, pretty related to a pretty hot topic right now in Montreal as well.
Right. Unfortunately, injuries are part of every season. We lost another game last night, and on the news within the previous 48 hours of losing 2 guys to injury, we lost Kirby Doc for 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured foot. So we'll keep the trivia injury related since it's the most current problem we seem to endorse. When we had I guess, our utmost losing in 21-22, how many man games did we lose due to injury in that year? Was it, we'll do multiple choice, was it A, 500, B, 550, C, 625, or D, 720 games? So we'll make a multiple choice. Those numbers are all high. So it was a high one that year, an NHL record to be
Mhm.
exact. So
Yeah.
how many games did we lose?
Okay. Uh, so again, we'll get you that answer at the end. No cheating, no Googling for those 38 subscribers that we have and counting. Let's pump that number up. Our Mitch Marner report, not much has changed since yesterday. Since yesterday when they played. Um, he had no goals, no assists, but he did get a +1, so he's now 4 goals, 15 assists, +9. Um, and he'd look pretty good on a stumbling, bumbling Toronto Maple Leafs team right now.
They lived true to form and blew another lead
Mhm.
yesterday against Chicago. So
Yeah,
we love to see that.
yeah. And what is it you say? Your two favorite teams in the NHL? Montreal and
Yeah,
whoever plays Toronto.
anybody playing Toronto. So it was go Hawks yesterday.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note, we're gonna do a game breakdown and a preview. We're just real quickly, we're gonna touch on both. The game breakdown against Boston. As you know, we lost that one. What kind of thoughts you got on that one?
It was an interesting game, man. We had 2 fights early. You know, Struble and Jack Guy both dropped the mitts. Jack Guy got caught with one, so the sheriff took one on the chin, literally and figuratively. The Zadorov and Struble was a good fight. You know, not really a tremendous win by either guy, but both guys landed punches. So started off with lots of energy. Um, the downfall, we lost the game 3-2. So 2 key takeaways: we lost Kirby Doc, as just mentioned, fractured foot, out 4 to 6 weeks, which is a bit of a stinger. Kirby was playing better, but we talked about him in one of our first few episodes as being a regular in the infirmary. And yet another injury, albeit freak, when anytime a guy takes a slap shot off the foot, most of these forwards don't wear those protective shot blocking guards on their skates. I don't know why every NHLer doesn't wear them, but a guy like him, being fragile, should wear them. But we suffer an injury, so he's out 4 to 6 weeks. And I think the biggest takeaway is we were doing quite well for a while, but our power play is like a fish out of water. It's just floundering, flopping along, going through the motions. And we had 2 5-on-3 power plays yesterday, one for 1 minute 29 seconds, which we did not get a shot. The second one was for 1 minute 50 seconds. We got 6 shots. That is unacceptable. It's not productive. There are teams that score 2 goals in those opportunities, and we did it. We had them twice and didn't score a goal. So a large part of this loss can be blamed on a floundering power play because I think now we're 0 for 18 in
Mhm.
our last run of power plays. So that's a key factor in why we lost a hockey game yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would agree because I think with the power play, I don't know when it changed or maybe I'm wrong, but I think Slav needs to be the guy in front of the net. He needs to be that big body in front of there, and he was in there earlier, and that's what was working. And I also think they're trying to be too finessey and there's a lot of passing going around the outside, but nothing coming to the middle that where you can really do the damage. And that's why they need to put Slav back in front of the net, a big body to block the goalie and get them grind out dirty goals in there to that's how Montreal's power play was successful. And I don't know why they changed it.
Well, I mean, I'm almost willing to throw the guys in a blender and let's spit out something totally different. That's got to
Mhm.
be bizarre because it can't be any worse than 0 for 18.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm available most Saturday nights if they want to fly me in. I'll stand in front of the net, but that's not going to work. We have guys on our roster I think we could utilize differently.
Mhm.
I will throw it a comparison to when the Boston Bruins went through their stretch and were putting Zdeno Chara in the front of the net on a power play. He's a big body guy, strong on his skates, so you're not moving him too
Mhm.
easy. Why are we not maybe, and maybe not on every power play, but especially on a 5-on-3 when we have that much extra space? Why are we not putting Arbor Jacki in front of the net?
Mhm.
I mean, he's a big body guy who will take a beating. He tries to move the other guys from the other end. Why not use him offensively
Mhm.
or put him on the back end because he has a heavy shot?
Mhm.
As much as I want to, against popular belief, I'm going to make a statement on a 5-on-3. I don't think Lane Hudson is our guy to quarterback a power play. And here's why this is unpopular. Yes, he's offensively minded, but he does not have a big clapper of a release. So when we're trying to move that puck around quickly and get a heavy shot towards goal, Lane Hudson is not that guy. 5-on-4, where you need him to create space, he's going to be way more effective. I just think on a 5-on-3, maybe he should be on power play unit 2, so that as it transitions from a 2-man advantage to a 1-man advantage, that might be a different avenue and a different success rate. But again, you grasp at straws when something doesn't work.
Mhm. Yeah, something's got to change. Something's got to happen. And the hope I have is from previous experience, St. Louis not afraid to try new things. So I don't want to be that team that gets stuck in, this is our path and we're sticking to it. I think you need to adjust on the fly.
Yeah, I can call him now if you want. Like you just
Yeah,
say the word, we'll get him on the
yeah.
horn.
Get them on the ring
Um,
ring. Yeah,
yeah. I probably got a soup can and some string. I think it'll make it to Montreal, so he's probably sitting by waiting for it. But we'll give him his peace and quiet on a Sunday.
you got a string all the way from Albuquerque, do you?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay,
Albuquerque,
so
yes.
that's
Me and
pretty
Walter.
much. We don't want to, harp too much on the Boston game, but that's pretty much. I think we're in agreement. That's what happened. We're not, I don't think the goaltending really sucked, but it wasn't stellar either. Um, so game preview. Our next game is tomorrow night, I believe. Columbus.
It's a road game. 3 hours down the road from where I'm located. If I didn't have to get up and work on a Tuesday morning, it might be worth the drive to Columbus. Against a spirited Blue Jackets team. They have a heavyweight Matthew Olivier, who's actually found the net recently a bunch of times. Had a 2-goal game the other night, and is a guy that both the Jackeye brothers have squared off against. A little bit of a handsy exchange. Am I looking to see another Arbor Jacki scrap? I think he's going to pick and choose his moments, but we are a team on the rebound, and we have a 1-game mini jaunt into Columbus that we have to deal with. So the Blue Jackets are a team of mystery. I'm sure if you ask their fans, they're just as perplexed as we are. So we need to find a way to try and get out of this. And I couldn't think of a better team, honestly, than Columbus because they don't have an identity.
Hmm. Yeah, they're. I don't think they're doing that well this year. I'm just gonna try to find their the standings here real quick. Sorry for Columbus. Yeah, so well, 9-7-2. That's not too bad, really. I mean,
No, there are a couple of games behind us in the standings, but they're not a team that's been on an extremely hot streak or an extremely cold streak.
Mhm.
So, you don't know what you get. You get the team that just won a game or the team that just lost a game.
Yeah.
We have been a team this year of streaks. Obviously, we lost three in a row, but we went on a 4 game winning streak. So,
Mhm.
Columbus could look at us and say we're not playing our best hockey of the season because we're not. So this is a time that they could really pile in some goals. We hope that that's not the case because we've taken our fair share on the chin.
Yeah.
So what changes going into the game against Columbus? It's been confirmed that Jakub Dobish returns to the pipes.
Mhm.
So Sam played last night against Boston. This is back to, I guess, as much of a home game as Dobish is going to get, being that he played his college hockey at the Ohio State University. So not too far away for those that are geographically wound up with where he might have been.
Mhm.
So for him, he might have some additional friends and buddies in the area.
Mhm.
So that's maybe a positive. The negative is, again, we talked about it. Kirby Doc is out, so Joshua Waugh has been recalled. So we now have Davidson and Waugh in the lineup. Um, Davidson played his first game last night, and I don't want to dwell on this. People of the internet, please let it go. It's not a big deal. Yes, he was fined for not wearing a helmet in warm up. It's a stupid rule that Bettman has in place. Facebook groups are all up in arms about this. The poor kid and his fine. It happens to every rookie. They're going to go out there without a helmet on, anyways.
Yeah.
Whether Suzuki pays a bill or the team pays a bill, the kid's due to have his 1 minute of fame and skate around without a helmet on. Let's let it go, please.
Yeah. And the things they should be more concerned about is he played a good game. I think he had 4 or 5 shots on goal. He didn't look out of place. He was in the play. He was driving play. So I mean, for a rookie playing your first game in the National Hockey League, I mean, other than score a goal, what else could you ask for?
You're right. He had 4 shots on goal, and there was one play that you could see him skate. I think it was from the left side, going cutting towards the net. His stick was down on the ice. I mean, he was looking for the puck to come there. He had a redirect shot on goal. I think one. I think in a series prior to that, he just either hit the outside of the post or it was
Mhm.
saved at the post. I mean, he definitely has a nose for the net. We talked about that with 9 goals in Laval.
Mhm.
I was impressed. He had a couple of body checks and he didn't shy away from going into a corner. So, maybe it's a sign of good things to come. Obviously, an extended look because we suffered another injury. So it'll be interesting to see after, them getting into Columbus in a pregame skate, what the lineups might look at. If you're following along at home, reviewing this in the morning, dailyfaceoff.com, they often will put line combinations based on morning skates. Writers and prognosticators will put their two heads together and come up with a reasonable thought. So it'll be interesting to see what color jerseys these guys are in a pregame skate. And my guess is after a 3 game loss, there will be a morning skate in Columbus,
Mhm.
and we can maybe see what kind of juggling we can come up with.
Yeah, I just logged on here real quick. Um, so what they have here, again on Daily Face Off. Again, this is as of 1:45 today, Sunday afternoon. So as you say, that may change with the morning skate. Who knows? But what they have listed here, they have first line is the first line.
Status quo.
Yeah. They got Bolduc, Kapanen, and Demidov together. On the next line 3 would be Evans, Anderson, and Joshua. And then the fourth line is Veleno, Gallagher, and Jared Davidson. So, I mean, that makes sense. I can see that as a possibility, but like you say, we won't really know um until the game day skate tomorrow. The rest is all pretty much the same: power play units, defense, and of course, as you mentioned, Dobesh is starting. So no surprises
And
there, I think.
I'm hoping this is a second chance opportunity for Bolduc
Mhm.
to return to his early season form.
Mhm.
If you remember, he tied a Montreal Canadiens start of the season road goal scoring record with
Mhm.
4 goals in 4 games, and he got off hot. He needs to play, in my opinion, with more offensively gifted players for him to be more effective.
Mhm.
So slotting back into that line with Demidov, and and Kapanen gives him those players that he should be able to fit in with. There's enough speed and creativity there, him with enough grit. Hopefully they can find some early chemistry and score a goal because that's what we need.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, before we move on to our main topic, I said several times, and I said the beginning of the year, Bolduc should be up playing with those two guys because when Doc is out, and we know more frequently out than he's in, um, that's where he should be. And I understand why they're putting Doc up there. That's their move. That's the GM's move. That's the guy they want. They want to, make it. To prove that they made the right move by trading for him. But at some time, and I've said it, you've heard me say it before, the Kirby Doc experiment is over in Montreal. However it is he's
Right,
gone, he should be gone. Right? Let's
right,
get Bolduc in there, let him play.
and that'll come because I think at the end of this year he's a free agent
Yeah.
anyways. So maybe he comes back on the team friendly $1 million, give me a bunch of signing bonuses and whatnot. We'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
what the cards lay because between now and the end of the season, this roster, my guess is not going to look the same. And we're going to talk about that
Yeah.
today
Yeah.
because I'm going to put on my best Hugo hat
Mhm.
and,
You be
and try
Hugh,
and
you be Hugh, I'll be go.
you can go. You're out of here. And we'll come up with talk about some players that are maybe on franchises that are guys that have been talked about
Mhm.
being moved or
Mhm.
guys that we can see and
Yeah.
what makes sense
Okay. So
because like you said, everybody's a water cooler GM. So how much water are you drinking spiked and how much
yeah.
water are you just prepared to drink?
Yeah. So on that note, we'll go into the topic. Right now we have I've done a little bit quick calculation on the math. We have $20.5 million of salary out right now due to injury in the four or five players that are out. Uh, like you say, Wah has been called up. Um, so I think realistically, we have a couple options. We talked about it earlier. We either have to find a disgruntled player, trade. We have to find a team that's stripping it down and going after McKenna to get a trade, or we need to find a trading partner that is in the what I would say the upper echelons, i.e., the Edmontons who are the Oilers or somebody like that who's all in to win and is willing to make a pure hockey trade. You know what I mean? Like a real player for player
Yeah,
kind of deal that can benefit both. So I
and, and
I,
we'll and
I
we'll
I
and
think
we'll
that's
dig
our
into
three
that.
options.
Right. So, and we'll dig into that because they all offer intriguing and fascinating options because some of them might be simple, like you said, based on the needs. And again, Gavin McKenna is supposed to be one of those generational players, and they come along. Crosby was one of them, McDavid was one of them. You can argue Matthews is one of them. I mean, the guy's got a hell of a shot when he's healthy, and if he has the right person passing the puck, he scores a ton of goals.
Well,
Is
they
he
had him, but
generational?
they chased him
Yeah,
off to
yeah,
Vegas.
yeah. He's now playing for the Vegas Golden Knights. So and we'll talk about what makes sense and we'll break it down. But when we're talking about our roster, you and I may have similar names, and we'll
Mhm.
talk about it, untouchables or untradables
Mhm.
for that matter, because they factor into the equation. Now, when we talk about whether a guy is untouchable, that we don't want to trade, other teams will have the same untouchable guy
Mhm.
and let's just Captain Nick Suzuki. I will have him on my untouchables list. There's no way we're trading Nick
Okay,
Suzuki,
well, let's do this. Let's do this. I have one, two, three, four, five. I have six untouchables on my list.
as do I.
Okay, here's what I have. I have Suzuki, Demidov, Caulfield, Hudson, Jackeye, and Dobson are my untouchables. Do you
And they're
have
my
anything
same.
different?
They're my same six, and
Okay.
probably all for the same reason. Now,
Yeah.
let's just pull up Suzuki because he's the captain. Am I trading him tomorrow? No.
Hmm.
But we talked about this last episode. Gretzky was traded.
Hmm.
You make me an offer I can't refuse,
Yeah.
and I might just pull the trigger.
Hmm.
So, if we're talking about changing the landscape of what we have and
Hmm.
taking somebody else's player, we may be taking what they have perceived as their untouchable player. but they're only untouchable until they get an overpayment.
Yeah. And the reason why I say, and I'm only saying because you use Suzuki as an example, I think Suzuki's untouchable because if you're going to do that, if you're going to trade Suzuki, you tear it all down. Do you know what I mean? Like Suzuki
He,
to me,
he's a
you're
player
going
that
to
will be
change the
traded in a tear down.
culture. You're going to change the whole outlook of the dressing room. You're going to change that camaraderie they got going on. You're pulling the pin on the grenade as far as I'm concerned, and you might as well trade it all off.
Right, and I would echo the same sentiment. If you are trading that guy tomorrow, you probably want to go in a complete different direction, and he will be one of 4 or 5 out the door. So,
Yeah.
do I see our untradeable in that position being traded?
Mhm.
No,
No.
but we're not in that position either. Whereas, when we talked about on another team at Tage Thompson, Buffalo's saying he's untradeable for now,
Yeah.
but when their dumpster's on fire, and it is on fire,
Mhm.
it's just a matter of time before they blow it up, and he's the first one out the door because he's gonna get them the biggest haul.
Yeah. And who do you have as far as untradeable? And when we mean untradeable, we're talking about guys that are uh basically they're plugs. They're not, there's no interest, going to be no interest from any team that they're not going to help another team. Uh
Well,
who do you have?
I have untradables in a different direction because I think all these guys are tradable, but you're not putting them in any deal as a major piece. So I have Gallagher, Doc, Line, Valeno, and in a different way, I have Josh Anderson in that
Mhm.
list. And the only reason I put Josh Anderson in that list is he's a big body guy who will intrigue a lot of general managers,
Mhm.
but you're not getting a ton of production out of him for his $6.5 million.
Mhm.
So that becomes, unless it's a bigger trade, you're not saying let's trade Josh Anderson straight up for this. It's going to be Josh Anderson and something to get a similar contract back.
Yeah. Just real quick, it's 5.5 Anderson's on, not
5.5,
6.5. Yeah.
sorry, not 6.
Which yeah,
I
but yeah,
didn't I didn't I didn't know we were married because I've been corrected.
yeah. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had the same four as you, except for Anderson. I had Montebo as untradeable, just because of his numbers. I mean, and I would agree with you when I talk about untradeable. I think like individually, no team is coming to us and saying, "Hey, what do you want for line A?" Right? Or we're not going to another team saying, "Hey, we'd like this guy. Would you take line A in return?" That's right. Now, if you could package up something, whether it be Anderson, Gallagher, Anderson, Montebo, and ship them off to another team for like a draft pick or something like that. But as far as a trade to be made that's going to help our team now, there's none of them guys are bringing anything to the table.
The only way you're getting rid of a line A is if you're sending line A and a second round pick
Mhm.
to San Jose for a fifth round pick. All you're doing is moving line A along, but you're really enticing. You're giving the player away and enticing them with a better draft pick than you're getting back. And
Yes.
that's the only way, and you're freeing up the salary. So
Well,
we
you're
talk, we
probably going to
talk
have to
about
eat some of that salary too. You're probably going to
yeah,
have to
no,
retain
and
some.
there's going to be retention, and you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, but no player is untradeable. You could trade Line if you were trading 50% of his salary because someone would say, "I'll take him for his power play, 15 goals for 4 million."
Yeah.
Absolutely, I will.
Yeah.
Do we want to do that? Well, the good thing is if we chose to do that this year because one of these rookies comes in and let's just say Davidson finds a groove and we have to keep him, that may be the deal we have to make just to
Mhm.
move Line along because you're not burying him in the minors at that kind of money.
Yeah.
So untouchable is no teams calling us specifically targeting that player.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
So furthermore, RFAs after this year, you've got Arbor Jack Guy, Bolduc, Valeno, and Doc are RFAs at the end of the year. Um, I I don't see I see Arbor and Bolduc getting re-signed without any real issues. Valeno and Doc, I don't see getting re-signed. UFAs, we've got Line A and Matheson. Line A, again, I don't see them re-signing even on a team-friendly deal. Matheson, however, he's the enigma in the equation. He's the one. He's already said he wants to stay. He's already so much as said he'd stay on a team-friendly deal.
and he's a
That
hometown
that's
guy, right?
and
He's a
he's a
Frenchie.
hometown guy. That's I think that's the whole. I think what they do with him is going to set the table for the rest of their moves.
Yeah, he definitely brings the mom's favorite poutine recipe into the dressing room, so they got to
Yeah.
keep him around just for the eats.
Yeah. Yeah, and all the players love him. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
he is a good player. And I will admit I was wrong. I said at the beginning of the year trade him. Um, that I wasn't that not that I wasn't impressed with him. I just thought we had other players that could play in his spot. But again, I'm sold on our six defensemen the way they are
right.
right now. I'm sold on it. So
Yeah, and I'll circle back. I mean, the one guy, and we talked about him off air, but I think we should throw him in there. And he's an RFA age wise. Davidson, he's up with us now, so we'll throw him in there. Those young guys aren't they get qualified to us. We'll qualify him. He'll be back because he's not, we're not trading him and we're just not going to let him walk. So we give him a qualifying offer. He'll be back next year unless he absolutely just outright wants to go to Europe and he bolts off that way. But I am in agreement. Jack Guy will be back. He wants to be a Montreal Canadian, so it's just whether or not we can get him on another 2-year friendly deal at that 2 million or less. And all indications would be, he understands his role and wants to be here.
yeah,
Bull Duke will be back, same kind of thing. We just traded away Logan Mailloux, so we're going to do everything we can to re-sign him.
yeah,
Valeno, I can't see him back, even if he paid us the salary in reverse.
yeah.
Not going to happen. It's clear that his NHL days are better suited watching it on TV. He can, or join a podcast. I mean, he can join us if he wants.
Mhm.
But it's and then Kirby Doc, and you and I will disagree. If Kirby Doc is your fourth line centerman or your fourth line right winger at $1 million, he'll be back in this lineup because he's worth the gamble.
Mhm.
Because he will give you more than Joe Valeno will at $1 million, and that's where we're at right now.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
again, it's like you say, anybody's tradable, and I suppose any scenario on a re-sign is possible. I suppose if he signed at 1 million or league minimum or 1.5 as a fourth line center, I guess I could live with that. But as the Kirby Doc contract second line guy right now, there's no chance for me.
no, and the responsibility and expectation goes down when a guy like Kapanen is healthy and
Mm,
elevates his game and plays at a higher level. And we'll talk about line eight. I don't think he's back under any circumstance. I think honestly he's back to Finland after this year. I
mm,
think his failed NHL experiment, whether it's and I'm not saying that you wouldn't bring him back because he entered the player assistance program and had his mental stress leave and had to deal with that. That is serious business, folks. I'm not trying to poke fun at that at all.
mm.
It is a struggle. If you know anyone that has mental health issues, please reach out to them, find them help, encourage them to go talk to somebody. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying he's been injured, he's been disgruntled, he's been in more than one franchise, and at some point that offer becomes minimal.
Mhm.
And I just don't see him bringing enough good things to the table where another team is going to want to bring him in.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Well, and again, I guess I would say the same thing as far as the uh, qualifying statement about Kirby Doc. I mean, do you bring if Laine says, "Look, I'll play, sign me for 1 year for $1 million," you know,
I,
do you
I
do
guess
it
if we
like?
have
I
a,
mean, it could
I
be the
guess if
same
we have a spot
scenario
for
because
him, yeah,
realistically, and again, let's play super wizard look into the future kind of thing. You get Line on a 1 year, $1 million deal. You get Doc on a one line, $1 million deal, and you throw, we'll just say Anderson out there, and that's your fourth line, and they hit. Do you know what I mean? Like winning the Powerball, your numbers hit, and they have a great year for minimal salary, and they each get 20, 30 goals a year, 50, 60 points. Is it worth that gamble?
yeah, and I guess it would be, but we're gonna start speculating trade at some point.
Mhm,
Does Kirby Doc fit into this
mhm,
if we make a deal? We
mhm,
make a trade to get somebody else. Does Patrick Line fit into this if we make a deal?
mhm,
Because right now we have Jake Evans as a 3-4C. Does he become a 4C at that point if you make another deal?
mhm.
So it all depends on who you get and why you get them, because we're not going to sit back and take this on the chin as we lose three in a row. Hughes and Gordon are going to start picking up the phone.
Yeah. Um,
if they haven't after the Kirby Doc news, they're gonna do it if we lose another game. So
yeah,
one way or the other, I expect something to change by the end of the week.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if it'll be that quick, but I think the Christmas for sure. I think Christmas break. I think something gets done before. Sorry, before Christmas
Even
break.
if we pick up another guy, and I hate to say it, like a Joe Valeno, even if we pick up another guy like that we can always turn around and put back on waivers, I
Yeah.
got to think there's something out there because you can't keep depleting your AHL roster and having them go through this because each
Yeah.
team below you needs the same help.
Okay.
When you pull up from Laval, Trois Riviere, they're sending players up to Laval. Then where are they getting players? They're
Yeah.
getting them from 7-Eleven and IGA, and
Yeah.
they're getting a guy that played university hockey that had nowhere to go.
Yeah. The beer league. They're getting them from the local beer league.
Canada Ice Sports. A shout out to the
Yeah.
homies from the hometown.
Yeah. Um, so I think let's start. Let's just go one by one, I guess. Um, who do you see out there as a maybe a, and some of this may be speculation. Who's a disgruntled player out there that maybe
Well,
needs a change of scenery?
so I'll just throw the quick list I put together and the one and we can talk about them. We talked about this in a previous episode. Nazem Kadri, Tage Thompson, Jordan Kyrou, Alex Tuck, Steven Stamkos, Ryan O'Reilly are guys that are on different teams, different ages, making different amounts of money with different term. They're all different and could all benefit us in a different way. Are they worth it? Well, some guys will have less term, so they might be cheaper to get as a stopgap. And maybe that's what we look at. Um, the one that I didn't identify, I'll throw out there, and not because he's disgruntled. There's no signs that he's disgruntled, but he plays in the shadow of two really good centermen. And I know sometimes he's used as a winger, sometimes he's anchoring center position too. But a guy like Ryan Nugent Hopkins might be a guy that we
Mhm.
can poke at. And the only reason I'll talk about the Nugent Hopkins one, maybe he becomes intriguing because we do need a legit center left winger. Maybe that's the reason we go after him. His term is only 5.125 million for this year and three more. So not the worst kind of salary. It's less than Anderson's making, less than Gallagher's making.
Yeah.
But we could utilize him in a center ice role, I think, a little bit better than Edmonton does.
Mhm.
And maybe this is where we send an Anderson or a Gallagher the other way to Edmonton because they maybe need a grittier player going into the playoffs. They just got Zach Hyman back, who came back from his injury, but they lost Evander Kane and Corey Perry off their playoff roster from last year. And we've seen the damages that the Dallases and the LAs do, and Edmonton's got to go through both of them in the playoffs. So
Mhm.
maybe one of our guys makes a good hockey trade. Now, am I suggesting a one for one? Maybe ideally that would be fantastic. I'm just suggesting they could be pieces
Mhm.
plus or minus a prospect or draft picks, but
Mhm.
that could be a good hockey trade both ways. Money is similar, term is similar. Maybe, Anderson or Gallagher having one less year gets them out from underneath that as the McDavid contract is getting close to, that 2 year extension he signed. So if they have to build on the fly, they have contracts that line up with that. So that could be an intriguing story to follow if that makes any sense. Am I suggesting that deal gets done tomorrow? No. That one would probably be more of a trade deadline kind of thing. What do we have hurt? What do we need now? So that could be something that maybe plays itself out.
Well,
The
I
one guy, go ahead.
well, I think just on the Ryan Nugent Hopkins thing, um, so Montreal has cap space, but Edmonton's right against it. They only have $200,000 in cap space. So any trade with Edmonton is going to have to be salary out, salary in at,
Right.
at, at bare
Or
minimum,
we
right?
retain or we retain some.
Yeah, and we retain. So I mean, I can see the sense of Anderson Gallagher type thing for Nuge. And again, I think Nugent Hopkins coming to Montreal playing as a 2C where he knows that's his role. He knows every day coming into the game, he knows that's what it's going to be. I think that benefits him, and that would be a change of scenery would do him good scenario.
Right.
Um,
And that's why I mention a guy like Nugent Hopkins. Now, if we're dreaming, and I am, I'm more intrigued on Alex Tuck for
mhm,
different reasons. Alex Tuck is 29 years old, so he's not super old. He's 4.75 million this year, so he's not super expensive. The downfall to him is an unrestricted free agent.
mhm,
So I believe we could get him, and I don't think we'd have to significantly overpay. The benefit that we have is his brother Luke is in our system. So a family reunion of sorts. We did it with the Costitson brothers, so why not do it with the Tuck brothers?
mhm.
And it may be something that we look at as a good option. He's a big body guy, and he likes to play. He can play on your power play unit. He can stand in front of the net. He kills penalties. He's not afraid of it.
Mhm.
So I think he's a guy that immediately we wouldn't have to overpay for, and we could absorb his easy money. Do I see a trade for a Reinbacher type guy involved in that? Might be a good deal for Buffalo to take on a guy that we don't foresee playing in our system, not this year.
Mhm.
So that might be, a good starting point. And again, am I suggesting a one for one? I'd love to. I just don't see Buffalo doing it. They're not
Yeah.
going to take somebody
And
off their current roster without getting a roster player back.
yeah, and right now Tuck is 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points, and he's averaging 13, 15, 16. He's averaging, 18 minutes a game. So that's some pretty good ice time. So it could be a fit, and it is a logical. He does have the numbers, I think, to support your idea of getting him. So it's not, it's not beyond the realm of, like one thing you and I have always discussed when talking about these trades is it's got to be sensible. It's got to be realistic. It's not, like you said, we're going to trade Pizzetta to Edmonton for Connor McDavid. Like, get your head out of your ass. Let's be realistic. A trade for Alex Tuck, whether it be a Reinbacher and a pick or something like that. Another thing that I've always said, you're going to have to, it's going to hurt. You're going to have to give up something you might not necessarily want to give up if you're looking to improve in another spot. And right now, we need another top six forward for sure. Not necessarily a center. It could be a winger. I mean, in an ideal world, it is a 2C. But if you had a premium winger as your top six to offset that, I think both would work. But you're not getting that without giving something up. You're not packaging
Right.
up the leftover meatballs from last night and sending it off, right?
And
You're
getting
you're gonna
caviar
hurt.
back
It's
in
gonna
return.
hurt.